Off we go. I'm Alice.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel where I talk and do everything pinball. So if that sounds interesting to you, then hit the subscribe button down below. And I'm here with Melvin Williams with DPX.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Doing pretty good, man. Obviously, we've got a lot of questions for you, and curiosity is on everyone's mind when it comes to what is going on over there in the Netherlands and what you're working on and how things are going with Alice. So we're going to be getting into that, obviously. But I think there's people out there that still don't really know who you are, and so I would kind of ask you, give us a brief history about, coming into DPX or developing DPX and kind of like, what exactly is it that you're doing over there kind of thing.
Okay, that's fine. My name's Melvin Williams. I have a brief history. I bought some lockers from the J-pop, and there was a foam core stuff in there from Alice in Wonderland. Speed it up fast. I went to Barry. Barry is the CEO of Dutch Pinball. I told him about my plans about maybe bringing this game to life and some other titles that I had in mind. Fast forward 8-9 months, Alice came to life, and we started DPX. DPX was there to tell the world that everything that comes out of this company is limited to a maximum of 500 units. It doesn't mean that every title DPX brings out is 500 units. It also can maybe on the next title be, 300, 400, whatever. We wanted to have new thoughts on pinball. And if you look at Alice right now with all the sculpts that we are now familiar with. So DPX is really a brand next to Dutch Pinball. So Barry is the CEO of Dutch Pinball. They have their own lineup. So they had the Lebowski game that just finished the end of its production life, and they swapped over now to Alice, and they are doing their next cornerstone, and then probably DPX will also do another title. So, or they will run on, together, or they will run separate depending on the timelines. And in DPX, I am the head of design, engineering, and also help Dutch Pinball itself and engineering when they need help. So a lot of stuff is together, but also separate.
Mm-hmm. So you're like basically R&D for like other games, and then once you've developed the game and it shoots and it works, then you hand it off to Dutch for them to manufacture.
Yes. I will do everything from start to finish. We're a small company, so Barry helps me sometimes, and we have other people inside the company that help us. And when a game is ready to be launched, like Alice, I hand it over to Dutch Pinball. They will do the whole manufacturing. So they will take the orderings, they will order the parts, build the games, send it out to distributors. And I will be the one that just, when they started building Alice, I will look in the assembly line if it's built to spec, and then I hand it off to Barry, and he will get it to the finish line.
Okay. So, I mean, that's always the question that's on people's mind, is that they think that DPX and Dutch are one and the same. And so if there's any kind of questions in regards to Lebowski or an upcoming title, then they look to you as being the person that's going to be answering for essentially what Barry should be answering for, kind of thing. So I think there's definitely that separation that needs to be a little more well known to people right there. Because even some of the questions that I received were questions that should be going towards Barry, kind of thing.
Yeah, I know it's a bit confusing at times, but let me say it like this: if it's questions for certain titles, which are Dutch pinball related, it's best to ask them to Barry, and if it's really DPX related, then ask them to me. I will still be around, but I'll try to leave those things separate.
Okay, so let's dive into talking about Alice. And I think it was like unanimous that the first reveal, the trailer for the game was probably a very low light, probably the worst portion of your game. But once people got to play it at Expo, that's where the heads began to turn towards more positive towards the game kind of thing. And now we've actually, just as of in a few weeks ago, seen a much better stream of the gameplay via the Dutch Pinball Museum. But I'm kind of curious of like, what type of development has gone into the game since we first saw it at the end of Q24 to what we just saw from the Dutch Pinball Museum.
So the games that were at Expo were already, I think, 99% finalized. From what people saw over there, people were amazed by the aesthetics, for the details in the sculpts and everything we try to put into the game. So the things we added, because the games worked tremendously well on the Expo, but we found some small stuff in regards to, I added one switch. So in the back is a diverter. And sometimes when you're playing multi-ball or there's something going on, there's a tendency that a ball can be trapped in that diverter. So what I did, I added one switch. So in normal gameplay, if that switch gets triggered for more than a second, it will open it up and just flush it out. So you will never even know there was a ball stuck somewhere. So as soon as we get back from Chicago, I added that to the game. I listened to the feedback. People wanted more playability on the mini playfield. We had one mode, the Knave of Hearts. You're being accused of stealing the tarts, and you're going up to the mini playfield to battle some guards and just escape from the throne room. That was the only mode that was in there. So now we added 3 more modes to give a little bit more playability on that mini playfield. So if you do a secret skill shot and you get 1,000,000, you plunge it, it goes up to the mini playfield, and each time you hit a target over there, it just doubles up your skill shot. And then you have Paint the Roses Red. It's to advance the wizard mode from the first ball you play. You also can shoot up to the mini playfield, and all the guards you defeat there will be deducted off your final wizard mode. Of course, the Knave of Hearts is still there, and you have a sneak in. You also go up there. So I try to use more and more of the mini playfield. That said, because I've seen a lot of comments, people said, oh, you have to do a multi-ball with the balls up to the mini playfield and with the magnets. The problem is magnets heat up pretty quickly, and they don't cool down that quick. Normally, a magnet is just for a simple grab and then deducts the power to hold it or do a fling. I try to do the best I can with the mini playfield, but as much progression and to usability of it. But I also have to keep in mind that I don't burn out the game. To that extent, so that's the mini playfield. We added some more side quests. A lot of audio has been added to the game. I see people commented on the infamous Mad Hatter. It's not been removed. All the audio from the Mad Hatter was completely redone by a different voice actor. He still sounds the creepy voice he was, but then with better quality. The meme is still hidden in there, so if you shoot it a couple of times through the jackpot, you will probably hear that other call out. Alice now has a voice. I know you play as Alice, but I wanted also her to have a little bit of a voice. So she says 2 things. So when you plunge the ball, she says, off we go. That's on the first ball. And then when you're in, let's say, a mode, it's the caterpillar, you have to answer him. And he asks you, who are you, with the shots. And then the final shots, you will say, I am Alice. We added some, the wizard mode is fully extended. It's playable from the first time you take it out of the box. So I try to add a lot of new light shows and a lot of new stuff. I will try to see what feedback we get over the months to come when the games hit their homes with people. So yeah, I think we upgraded a lot of stuff since Expo. So if people already enjoyed it, I think they're going to enjoy it much more. So yeah.
So when you talk about like, months, I mean, like it was stated by you later at the end of quarter 24 that you were going to start building these games January, and you have a plan to make all 500 of these throughout the year. And we technically didn't have them start getting built from our perspective, at least until what, March?
Yes, correct.
So it's a 3-month delay there. I'm kind of curious of what kind of details that you can divulge on the 3-month delay.
Well, it's not really 3 months. We always said January, February. So let's say it's a 2 months. So the first thing we had is we had a part problem coming in from China. It was Chinese New Year, and they forgot one part. So it took about 3 to 4 weeks longer just to get one ball guide. So we couldn't finish one playfield whatsoever. So that was the first delay, and then we now are building games, and we had a small setback about 2 weeks ago. Not many people will notice this because this only affects, I think, the first 20 to 25 people in the Netherlands. And it was that we had a problem that when the games were built and we put the luck bar on, we found out that the cabinet was a little bit off centered, so the lock bar didn't fit really well, and I didn't want to scratch, the paint on the on the powder coating. So we decided to just so we had 20, 25 games in a box built. We took them out of the box and threw away the cabinets, and we had to wait for new cabinets. But in that meantime, we also continue building all the playfields. So what's going to happen upcoming week is we are not shipping 20 games. We're going to ship 50 to 60 games because we already have so many playfields ready to go, but we had to wait for the cabinets. And also, it means that I hope in the next 2 to 4 weeks, games will start shipping also to the US.
So do you feel that you're still going to make the goal of all the games being made before the end of the year?
The thing is that on some occasions, I don't have the definitive answer because Barry is responsible for the production line of Alice. I'm not always in the factory because I normally work from home. I do a lot of the prototyping, and everything I need to do, I can do beautifully from home. And if I need to show something, I go to the factory. But how I see it now and the progression it is, Barry Stills believes that he can finish all 500 games before the end of the year.
Oh,
And I think that's because we're already building now 50 to 60 games, I believe. So we're going in the right direction. So yeah, I think we're still gonna make that 500 games.
all right. That's a hell of a goal because I think we were already
Be positive.
calculating, for the
And
armchair quarterback here. We were doing the math. They can do this many games per week, and there's only 12 months in a year, then holidays and all this kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I hope you do. I think a lot of people are hoping that you do that as well because they want their games. Definitely curious on all the different, things that have been developed over this time with the code, and now that you have the hardware changes with the cabinet. So I'm guessing that was just, a carpentry issue. Whoever makes your
yeah,
cabinets, I'm guessing they just.
that's where you can tell that in Europe, pinball is super small in a way from manufacturing, is that you can't just hop around and say, "Oh, I need a cabinet," and everybody's, they can build maybe I don't know sheds and they can build your closet, but building the pinball cabinets is a different story. So if one manufacturer fails to deliver at that point, you don't have somebody else you can go to and say, "Oh, you know what? I need 50 of these cabinets next week." It's not going to happen that way. So it's just, I think in the US it's a little bit easier because there are more manufacturers. So, but yeah, we try to do the best we can, and just moving forward. And always like now, I just try to be as transparent as possible. Sometimes I don't have the answer or I hear it at a later stage from the production line. But again, we were trying to do our best. We're still a small company. We're trying to, and if I could also said, you know what, let's ship out the 50 games, and then the luck bar scratches up the side rails, and
Mhm.
I can blame it on the customer or whatever, or blame it on shipping. In the end, do you want your game to be good? And you pay a lot of money for the game, and I wanted that it, comes how it was designed and not because of time pressure.
Yeah, I think so. You're like, I want the game to be correct, not
Yeah.
good and not good enough, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, due to all the recent changes when it comes to shipping and the tariffs and everything, about getting into politics on this, I'm definitely curious about, how this has affected your ability to ship games, and what has changed, and what are your plans going forward in regards to the tariff situation?
So when we heard the tariffs, we knew it can become a problem, and I was talking to Barry and Renz. He's part of the team, and we were thinking, okay, what is the best way to move forward? Do we wait it out? But what happens at certain points? And we were like, you know what? Let's just be transparent. And we all know, without, like you say, going into politics, that stuff can change overnight. So our idea was like, you know what? We still have 200 orders for Europe and the rest of the world. Let's focus on building these games first. So to get the production line going, get the money in and just get everything going as it is. And then maybe in 2 months, the tariffs are gone, and then we can still ship the games. And then, as you've seen, a week later, they said, oh, you know what? We got to take it down to 10%. So I said, you know what? To the distributors, if you have customers who really want the game now and they can't wait, put them on a list. I'm not going to ship out 5 games. I'm going to ship out 25 or 30 games because we're flying them in, and just we do a group and we ship it out to the US. But keep in mind that at that stage it was 20%. So keep in mind, if you overpay 20% and next month the tariffs are gone, you have a machine that you paid over 20% off. So it's always hard to, but we had to do something. And now with tariffs going up, will they stay at the 10% we have now? Will they go up? I don't know. At this stage, it doesn't change that much into effect that I think the end price of Alice now in the US is maybe $800 more, I believe. Don't hold me to it, but I hope it comes down again because I'm on the same level as everybody. Making pinball is hard. We still got to make money. Taking a hit from our side, it's just not doable. We want to stay in business. So yeah, I hope everything changed for the better, but we are still focused on not letting the terrorists hit us and hit the customers, and we just keep continuing, and we'll see what happens.
So you're basically taking care of the customers currently in your area, your region right now, and trying to see if things perform better when it comes to tariffs, and then you can start shipping to America. Unless you have those out there that are willing to pay extra, they don't care. You get at least
Yeah, and
25 of them, and then they can ship them out.
the problem is, have people said, "Oh yeah, but if I have number 490 and I was on this and this list and I pay more," and I said, "Well, it doesn't really work that way." I also tell the distributor, you know your customers, you know who's in the beginning of the line. You should start there. You know what I mean? You can't go to number 490 and say, I got your game early because I overpaid, and because that's now how it should work. It's just terrorists are there, and it's a problem. And I don't want that other people with, I don't know, more financial money or whatever can have a benefit of it. So, but I have to work a little bit because when I said we're not shipping games to the US, we had people saying, oh, no, it takes forever. It's never right, nor it's wrong. So I had to do something.
I'm going to try to slide in some questions here and there from the public here because they were aware this interview was going to happen. And so let's start out with this one right here. I think you've already kind of answered it a little bit, but this one is from someone on Pinside named Drained. Will they listen to the owners and players on adjusting the code/music/callouts during the whole run of Alice and Beyond? The main music track is nice, but after 3 balls, it is sleepy. Then toss multiple player balls on top of that. I am getting nervous. I feel owners will have lots of critiques code-wise based on the current code. As a future owner of Alice, will it get the same attention to code that the Big Lebowski received over the years?
I have not heard many people complain about the audio, about the main track. They thought it was magical and it fit the theme well. I
I
believe.
personally enjoyed it. And like the most recent stream with Dutch Pinball Museum with the game, I couldn't even watch it. I just had my earbud in. I was able to listen. And that's what I complimented to you on. I was like, dude, the audio sounds great. I was like, so me personally, I don't have a problem with the audio.
Well, and that's the good part is that I always said from day one, I will leave the audio folders and animations open. So if you want to, I don't know, have a nice rock band doing its thing, put it in there. Rules wise, there's a limit because you have modes and all the stuff you do. But I tend to listen. The more games hit the market, I can't listen to everybody. I cannot please everybody because everybody wants something else. But when it's linear, I try to take a little bit of parts, and where I can update the code, we will always support it. I'm not gonna promise that in 10 years' time we'll still support it. That's not what I'm saying. But for the years to come, I will do my best with the abilities we have to listen to feedback and to update the code where necessary.
All right, this one's from Robert Campbell. I guess this is a multi question right here. But it says, one, are deposits being held by CoinTaker or DPX? If it comes to refunds, who delivers funds back? From CT to customers or DPX to customers, this will hinge on answer to question one. So I'm guessing let's answer that one first.
Yeah, sure. It's super simple. You buy a game from a distributor. There's where you send the money to. The distributor sends us the money when they order the games. So if something happens, you will need to contact your distributor. Because if we are going to say no, you can contact us, it's going to be a mess. You bought from a distributor, then contact the distributor if you have any issues regarding service, money, whatsoever. But again, we're super transparent, and that's why we said if we cannot have your game delivered by the 1st of January 2026, you will get your refund back. You can call up your distributor, and probably your distributor will call us and say, hey, we need to be one deducted up the next thing coming in, and we'll be deducted. It's that easy. But in the end, the customer has a contract with the distributor.
And so the second one is, with the global supply chain issues, how many machines do you currently have parts for? 2 machines are in the USA. How many have been built currently, or how many have been built, and weekly production estimates? So that's just the second question. Is basically, it's like, how many parts do you currently have the ability to make for machines?
I think we can make 100, 150 machines at this moment. So we always talk about 100, somewhere around the 100 to 200 mark. I think we're now, 10 games a week. So it's 40 games a month. We're coming up on the next month. So like I said, I think they're now building 50 or 60 games already. We're shipping a larger batch now because of the delay of the cabinets. We also have vacation time coming up. So some months is going to be less. Some months is maybe going to be more. It's always a little bit of a discussion, how much and when. All I can say is we do our best. If we can crank out 100 games a month, we will. There's no choice for us to hold games back because it will hurt us in the long run. So it's not our intention to build slow.
So question number 3 is current completion of code percentage-wise, if you had to put a percentage on it.
0.9, 9.2, 9.3, I think already. But I don't see a 0, so a 1.0 code as a final. It can always be a 1.2 or 1.4. But from a game perspective, with the wizard mode, everything in there, music, I think it's around 0.9, 9.2.
And his fourth question, will they offer first rights to second title to early adopters that follow through with Alice purchase? Go ahead and answer this, you little rat bastard.
Okay, this is a question that's a little bit hard because, like I said, I don't know exactly still what the intention is for the numbers on my next game. It can be lower than 500. And let's say if I now drop it down to 400, right? I can't even deliver all the people who bought an Alice the next game. And also, maybe I have to give other people also a chance. So I think maybe for the future's sake, it's more like, hey, it's orderable. Maybe this time I have to do it a little bit quicker and say, listen, next week on this time, this game comes out, or it's orderable at that stage. And I think then everybody who wants to order can order, because I think that, maybe some people who have Alice and doesn't like the next game, they can leave a spot open for somebody else. And maybe somebody who missed the mark on Alice now wants that game. So I think as much as I would like to honor everybody, and I'm very grateful for everybody who bought an Alice, but I think I also have to leave a little bit of room open for new people in the hobby and other people. So I think I will leave it open for now and see what the future holds.
Okay, I'm kind of curious about when it comes. I'm wondering if that question correlates so much to DPX games, but also to Dutch games, like future titles from them. Is there any kind of crossover from the first adopters of Alice? And like you said, if Dutch comes out with their next title, would they be able to, I guess, be first in on that game? And that's something that you may not even be able to answer, but I'm just kind of curious if you can.
No, I don't, because I think that's because of Dutch being separate to DPX in that way. What I did with Alice is to, because I know Lebowski was the first game from Dutch and it had a little bit of a history. That's where we came up with that every early achiever on the Lebowski got a spot early for Alice. It was like homage, like a thank you, for all the things happened. But I don't think we can pull this off for the next. And I don't think there's anything DPX related to the next title for DP itself. I don't think it makes any sense to cross that over.
All right, so this question right here is something that, again, you may not even be able to answer because it seems like it's directed more towards Barry, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to let Sterling get his word in here. He says, I would really like to ask what their plans are for the next title. I'm sure he's not going to want to talk about any of that, though. It would seem like if tariffs are making it so hard for them, why would they not want to team up with Stern? ? I feel like this company is just shooting themselves in the foot. Stern clearly has too large of a facility and is hungry to build more games. Is he really so stubborn that he wants to build Back to the Future that he would put the company at risk over it? I feel like they could just be kicking back and counting money. So there's a bunch of information right there to say what you want to on that.
Yeah, I can't relate to any title. I have no comment to whatsoever. I think but this question I think is more related to the Dutch pinball division than DPX, I believe, or is this also on my next game, or is it? So this is a little bit of a trick.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's a bit of both. It says your next game, and then it's
my next.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, on the whole DP part, I cannot answer anything about it because it's that's up to Barry. My next game, I'm working on the next game. Everybody knows that it's in good active development. I think from a technical standpoint, the next game is pretty much finished. Of course, all I can say now is that our focus now for Dutch pinball manufacturing is to complete the Alice. And I think by the end of the year, we will get much closer to my next game. I won't say a release date, but all I can say is that when the end of Alice is in sight and we're coming to the end of the year and everything goes as it goes, we'll probably hear something about the next DPX title coming out.
Okay, so is it going to be like an interlaced, back and forth between Dutch and a DPX releases, or do we know?
Well, I always said, and I still feel this way, me joining with Barry to create DPX. I always said that the next game from Dutch, if it's on par in the line from release with my game, I will always push my game back to give them all the space they need. But we also created a second line for the second building. So if we really wanted to, we could build parallel and Dutch pinball game and a DPX game. If for some matter, maybe a Dutch pinball games get delayed, we can push forward with my game that I designed on the DPX platform and vice versa. Or we can run them as we go. That's the beauty of to switch in between everything we can do.
All right, so this is one from Bev, and I think we mentioned this earlier when it talks about tariffs, but I want to make sure they get their word in here. Also, what about the tariffs policy with regard to deposits? I'm seeing a 1K being added to the invoices for those who want their machines now. What's going to happen to those who don't want to pay more whenever their number is called? I didn't sign up for a 13.5K machine or higher whenever the tariffs go back to 20%.
I fully understand this. And again, it's also not something we wanted to do. It's not something your distributor wanted to do, because in the end, I think everybody gets hurt here. We get hit with negative comments. The distributor gets hit with, customers complaining, and the customer itself now also has got to pay more money. This is why I wanted to be the first one in the world to, say, let's put out something in the world to say, listen, we got to stop this now, put US on hold to see if the tariffs go away. What happens if the tariffs doesn't go away? In the end, it's simple, but also not. If we reach the end of the line and you waited and we cannot deliver that game for that price and we're coming to the end of the year, you have a right to cancel because we cannot deliver the game. And it has nothing to do with the price. Are you willing to wait the whole thing out and bet on it to get your money? you have to work. It works both ways. I do not have a definitive answer for this. All I can say is we all feel the same, and we try to work our best to get everything sorted. So I think all I can say, if you don't want to pay this, even if it's 10% or whatever, just wait a little bit more. Maybe in 4 months you will thank me. You said, oh yeah, I waited, now everything's back to normal. Here we go. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm not in politics, so I couldn't
Yeah.
answer.
I think there's definitely just a lot in the air, so it's hard to nail
Yeah.
down, the exact like plan because
Yeah.
plans can change basically on a daily basis kind of thing. But when talking about, manufacturing on this portion of
Mhm.
this right here, I'm curious about because we just had a couple of games get released. And we know that, one's big, massive title from Jersey Jack, it's official, Harry Potter, is about to be released. And I'm curious because you just mentioned that, your next game is essentially done. But like from a manufacturing and designer standpoint, do when these games get revealed and you watch how they play and you see what they are putting into their games, how does that affect you like on a mental level? Like, do you start questioning that maybe we should change things or we should add this or we should take this out on what other manufacturers are doing?
So I think when I launched Alice to the market, I think I already proved to the whole industry that there's more to life than flat plastics. And I believe we were one of the first who just offered a game with everything in it, no options available whatsoever. And my only goal was to sharpen, to make sure the awareness in other manufacturers that they maybe can step up their game a little bit. And now, with some new releases just being released, I see that manufacturers now start to copy the things we did. I see it as a good thing. Also, I can say is that the amount of detail I put in Alice, there's no manufacturer in the world right now that puts that amount of detail in. And I know that on every release we are going to do, I will try to step it up more and more and more. Also, from an aesthetic point of view, it's more an extra to it. So, of course, every game that gets released these days I will look at and think, oh, that's good, or maybe this can do better. And when I talk about that my game is done, it's done from a technical perspective. So from, let's say, a flipping whitewood, it came to a point that the game is mechanically and functional at its final stage. That doesn't mean that I cannot change in the last few weeks or months to come, change some accents or details inside the game that makes it more, more innovative, and it looks more like a world under glass. So I always keep an eye out to everything that's going on in the pinball industry. I also know what I liked about the Alice game. I know what people loved about it. So, like the lit up side rails we have, I will try to continue all those like a trademark on all our next games from DPX. I will try to use them all with the patented and trademark side rails. I will try to do my best, all the things people already love from the DPX standpoint to put in there, and always experiment with new levels of designs. I also do believe that boutique pinball companies can do are they are a little bit more forgiving in doing extraordinary things. And when you are one of the bigger companies, I think you have to be a little bit more careful what you do, and that's why they cannot maybe always pick up the same level that the boutique companies do. But I think a lot of change since Alice was released from a static point, because if people start doing what you did, I think people there's and then you only can go up from there. So I will always be on my best to bring in new things to the game.
So is it more like, you're wanting to just self-improve from your previous game, or is it, you're striving to be better than the rest? And I'm guessing that's manufacturer to manufacturer. Like me personally, I lean towards every manufacturer just trying to improve upon what they've already done. So I'm kind of
Yes,
curious of,
that's correct. I think in pinball these days, everything has been done already so many times. like I said, when I done Alice, I was like, okay, everybody has this. What can I do to up it up a little bit? And this is why we created that world under glass with all the sculpts and the high details and with the lighting systems and the sculpted toppers. I'm just, I think those are things that you can really improve an aesthetic point of view, not only for myself but also for the industry. I do it because if I can put it in there, why can it be for the bigger manufacturers? They bring out, they have money to bring out the biggest license in the world. And if I can do it with something, they can even put it, they have all the good people around them. They have so much money, so they can really bring more to pinball.
Hmm.
It's good for everybody.
Yeah, so I'm like when it comes to talking about patents, I mean, I'm curious about this when it comes to developing a game and you have an idea for something. Let's just say the lit up side rails.
Mhm.
Is that something that you have to like personally like look up to make sure that you're legally able to do something like that, or how does that work?
Yeah, the problem is there's always a lot of things that look the same, might be the same, but it's not really the same. You know what I mean? And a lot of stuff, going through trademarks and patents is a lot of work. I own certain patents, and I just had some new patents for the like I said, with the side rails and with I have some new stuff for the aprons with screens and everything in there. And there's also a difference between Europe and US. We have a US lawyer for everything over there, and then we have a European lawyer for here, and we have another lawyer that does everything for outside. So it's the thing was in the beginning when I started things, I always said to people, you know what? I don't need it to be trademarked nor patented, but because I like when everybody starts using them. But if they start using it in a wrong way and telling people that they did something new, and I'm like, okay, but that's not why I did it. And also when people say, oh, that's something you really should keep on your next games, and I was like, you know what? I got to protect this and to move forward. But it's always trademarks, patents. It's always, yeah, it's not fun to deal with.
And so, like, from a standpoint of like doing like, patents after that's already been done, but just licensing in general, like, so your Alice property, that's basically, open to where anybody could use it. We've seen that even just with the Wonderland amusements, they're doing their own little Alice in Wonderland type of thing. And so, when it comes to like the difference between dealing with licensed property and a that property like Alice, I mean, what are the challenges between both of those, and which one is basically your preference to do, kind of thing?
So I never released a game with a license.
Hmm.
I do have one game in the works that is a license that was not really given to us or to me. It was more like an homage, and they asked me, "Is it possible you could maybe do something with this game?" To be honest, from an art wise perspective, and because if you do a licensed theme, you have access sometimes to animations, to or video or audio or artwork, and when you're working with non-licensed, you have to create everything from scratch. But in the end, I think I like non-licensed much more because you can do whatever you want to do with it. If you want to color Alice her hair, I don't know, purple, pink, whatever, you do it because it's yours. But yeah, non-licensed also can be challenging, also from a sales perspective. And if you're a small company and you're betting on something, if you do like a Harry Potter, you can sell 500 games with your eyes closed. It can be the shittiest game in the world and you will sell 500 games. When I released Alice, I always said if I could sell 100 games, I would be proud. We sold 500. We still have people on the list. Um, you know, I was thrilled, and up to today, I'm very humble, and I love everybody who bought Alice, and I hope they experience in a good way for them. But yeah, non-licensed, I think I like better.
It's like on one hand you're like you've got the
Yeah, it's
assets that you can use, but on the other hand you've got to be like under somebody else's thumb. Whereas like you
yeah,
got to create everything from scratch, but you can do what you want, kind of thing. You don't need approval. So I get it. There's a balance of like which evil do you prefer, kind of thing. Like
if you want to sell, go for a license. But if you want to sell, again, it's really, really hard.
So from like the manufacturing of Alice and how it's going, I mean, what are some of the challenges that you've came across that you haven't mentioned that you've definitely like learned from and being like, oh, well, this is going to be a lot easier on our next title kind of thing?
Of course, when we done Alice with the side rails, we had to cut out a piece in the in the cabinet itself. So and also we were the first ones who did the real printed on mirrors with the artwork. That's also something I want to take as we go with our next games. But there's all learning curves, when they start building them. How is the best way to assemble it? And I think the only major complaint I hear in the factory, and they're still screaming for it, is because we do so much sculpts, and there's not just flat plastic you can just cram down. Oh, good to go. No, these are, even though we made them from a material, so they won't break that easy or damage, you still have to be very careful putting these sculpts in. And that's the main problem, I think, with Alice.
So, like, I think that was one of the assumptions of why there was a delay with Alice, is that it was all Lior sculpts, and evidently during the manufacturing process they were breaking. Like I said, this is all speculation because I do remember you stating that the Lior sculpts are very robust and that they've
Correct.
taken many balls. There's no issue with that. So I found that little counter,
Yeah, that's not true. No, because on the expo we had the games with and without protectors, no issues whatsoever. We brought them to the DPO show, and then later on, I think they went to some other shows. I think some went to Australia. No issues whatsoever. So the sculpts are not a problem. They're really not. It was the ball guide we were missing on one, and now the cabinet with the scratching of the side rails. We try to take care of, but that's from a manufacturing standpoint. I think that was the only thing that was a real issue in a little bit time delay of making a playfield.
Just out of curiosity, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you kind of wish I would ask you that you would like to comment or answer upon things that you've heard from the public or anything?
No, not really. I think we touched base on most of the things. Like I said, we're always trying to be transparent. So if there's any questions, we're always here to answer them. And if there's a reason that there's, let's say, a delay or something, we do it for the better. It's not that because there's a problem somewhere, and these days, and it's not only us, but if there's a delay for whatsoever, you read it in every article that websites write. It's like, oh, Alice is delayed for another month or this or that, and they don't even know why it's delayed. Or if something breaks down on a other manufacturer's game or something is up, there's like, oh, this is delayed or this is not right. And it's trust me, if there's a little delay, it's for the better. And it's not because the game is not engineered right. Well, sometimes it is. It can happen, and then we have to re-engineer it. This delays, no, there weren't any issues. But we're always trying to be transparent. So if there's any issues, we will always be open about it. Same with the tariffs. We were the first in the world because I know everybody wanted to say something, and they were waiting. We were the first to come out, and we'll always try to be transparent as possible.
All right. Do you know if we got any more streams coming from like Dutch Pinball Museum in regards to Alice?
Yes, I believe so. I think they asked me to do a stream with them probably next week or something. They said
That would be good. So you can
yeah, they
answer all
said,
the questions in chat.
yeah, and I can go through all the rule sets and all that stuff. They just have a better streaming rig than I do. I'll just go there. We'll do a little bit of streaming. I think for the upcoming weeks and months, there's more games coming out. There's a lot of more streaming going on.
All right. So I think people that are waiting on their game, some of them are probably like they don't want to see anything because they just want to experience it for the first time. But others out there need something to nibble on to kind of like hold them over until they finally get their game. So at least
Yeah.
I had the option out there, like, hey, here's a stream if you want to see the progress that we've done with the code or the changes that we've made.
It's always, I always tell people, of course, play the game yourself and get familiar with the shots. A lot of people say, oh, this shot is not working or this is not good. And it's sometimes you just have to find the shots. I know there's some shots on Alice that are tight. And then I have people say, oh, this shot doesn't work. And then I have to really record a video, say, you mean like this? And it goes like this and this. And he said, oh, okay. And then 2 days later, somebody texted me and said, oh, I got the shot right. I know now where it's on the flipper bed. I said, yeah, there are some shots in there that are a little bit tight, but you have to get familiar with the game itself. Some games look great on stream. some games aren't. Also, the player can be good, and you know how it goes.
I'm curious, so like maybe in the future we could start getting some like video updates, like on Facebook or whatever. Like you just walking through the line, just showing Alice's being in the works, and people like to see a little bit behind the scenes, just seeing the games being built. It's kind of cool to see that kind of thing.
I think there was I think they did a tour about a week ago and a week and a half ago by a guy named Roy Wills. He did a factory tour, and then you can see all the playfields lined up. I think there were 20, 25 playfields and all the cabinets on the line. So I think we do from time to time these things, but I will tell to the factory to put a little bit of updates on the Facebook page, so they will everybody can experience a little bit more of what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's it's not much. Just a picture of like, hey, here's all these back glasses. Hey, here's all these playfields, and posted up on Facebook.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
like to see
especially from
that.
the new game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, people like to see
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. Like give them a little something to chew on. It didn't take that much. I'll talk to Barry. Like Barry, take a damn picture, post it on Facebook. Takes 5 minutes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, we're creeping up on the 1 hour mark right here, Melvin. I just wanted to see if there's anything else that we need to mention or talk about.
I think
Mhm.
we touch base on everything. I the only thing I can say is that for the mod community, I done with Stumbler, I did the board set so people can hook on their mods
Oh,
they wanted
the
to.
topper for Alice also. There's some kind of a addition with the electric playground. Didn't they develop
Yes,
something for Alice as well?
yeah, they done something for Alice that's coming out pretty soon. They came up to me at one point, asked me if I wanted to collaborate with bringing art in and all that stuff. I said sure, and also with the board set that we had and launched with Alice with Stumbler, we are now in a phase that we are expanding that board set. And we will probably release the new board set with the game coming out. So there's even more to mod for people who want to mod. Keep it going.
All right, hell yeah, man. Well, I guess we'll put a bow on this. Thank you very much for your time, Melvin, and giving everybody the information that they're starving for right now. Hopefully, we eased some minds out there, and people got something to chew on until the next update can come along.
Perfect. Well,
All
thank you
right,
for having me,
all
and
right,
have a great day. Okay.
all right.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Melvin.
Off we go. I'm Alice.